So let's talk about Shakespeare and rapping. Last week I was recommending the 2010 adaptation of Macbeth, directed by Rupert Gould, starring Patrick Stewart. I think the adaptation is fantastic. If you're looking for a good Macbeth movie, it's a great shout. You could do a lot worse than that version. Really enjoyed it, and I'll talk more about it at some point. I'm going to focus on an aspect of it that I didn't think worked so well, but don't let that give you the impression that it's not a really, really good film, because I think it is. So the witches in this version, I on the whole really liked. They kind of they look like sort of nurses in a mid 20th century hospital, perhaps military nurses, and they fade in and out like ghosts in The Shining, and they're sort of like projections. They are apparitions. They don't seem to have any kind of psychological reality or human depth, and that's how I like the witches personally. I like the idea that they are icons, apparitions, phantasms. They are basically special effects in my own private version of Macbeth that plays in my head whenever I read the play. Other people have interpreted them as having psychological depth, and you see some productions where the actors playing the witches have tried to sort of ground the lines that they say. I don't think this works. I haven't seen this work. They speak in riddles, they speak in abstract images, they speak in kind of fairy tale rhyme. They don't have any psychological reality that I can sort of detect in the text. They're not the sort of characters about whom an actor could go, well, what did they have for breakfast this morning? What do they do for a living? What do they do to unwind? I think that's just ridiculous. I think it would be the same as asking those questions about part of the scenery or something. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. In the version of the film, I really like that part of the witches. In their appearance in the second half, when Macbeth approaches them to ask to sort of like firm up his success, and they give him the famous conditions on his failure, which sound pretty promising to Macbeth. It's only going to go wrong once Birnam Wood comes to Dunsinane. Cannot be hurt by any man who is not of woman born. Blah 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 blah. All that scene. The witches do the lines of that scene in a kind of rap in the film, and I thought it didn't sound very good. I thought it sounded a bit silly, a little bit out of tune with the rest of the film. And I think out of tune is one aspect of what I'm going to talk about. It's far from the first time that I've watched a production that does a bit of rap in a Shakespeare play, uses a bit of Shakespeare's language as rap. Although, if you know anything about the writing of Macbeth, chances are the witches' lines aren't Shakespeare's lines anyway, but we won't go into that. I think it very rarely works. The best I've seen Shakespeare as rap has been bits of Shakespeare taken out of the play and performed on their own. So taken out of the context of the rest of the play. I don't disagree. I think it'd be ridiculous to disagree that it can't be done. That iambic pentameter doesn't lend itself to rap. Of course it does. It has a really dramatic and bombastic rhythm. There are plenty of sections of Shakespeare that do lend themselves to rap. I also like rap, so I'm not against it as an idea as happening in the play. I just think it's almost always really badly done, and I think it's down to two reasons usually. The first is that if you're going to have rap in a play, then have a rapper. Have someone who actually knows how to rap, because it's not the same as acting and it's not the same as Shakespearean verse speaking. You wouldn't assume, because that actor that you like was brilliant in that gritty police drama, that he could sing. So why would you assume that someone who went to RADA can rap? Time and time again, what happens when you decide to do a little bit of the Shakespeare play with a rap is that you end up with a drama student rapping, which, with no hyperbole, is the worst of all imaginable things in the worst of all possible worlds. And not to come down too hardly on the actors of the witches in that production, but I don't think they were rappers. They didn't really sound like they could rap. It sounded forced. It might have been more effective live, and from reading about the stage history of the play, it sounds like it is an element that they carried over from its stage version at Chichester into the film. So maybe it worked better in the room. Let's give them that. I want to give them that because, like I say, I really do like the production. The other reason I think that rap doesn't generally work in Shakespeare is that the productions don't come up with a good enough reason to do it. If you read Shakespearean verse in verse and you're not hacking it to bits so it becomes basically just like slightly elevated prose, then that verse is the default kind of base layer verbal reality that you're presenting. When you break it by suddenly going into a rap, or if you break it like Shakespeare sometimes breaks it by suddenly having someone come on and speak in prose or speak in rhyming couplets, say, you're signaling something. You're signaling a change in the observable reality. The prose characters, for example, might talk straight to us, the audience. They're usually the clowns, right? Or like the porter in Macbeth. That's a very, very different feeling, and it's a deliberately different feeling. When you have a scene of verse and then you cap it with someone just turning into rap, you need to signal why that's happened and what effect that has on the world. And I think some productions do it almost like verse and rap are interchangeable, and it's not true. So that's the other reason, and I would say on those grounds, it did work for Rupert Gold's Macbeth. In concept, it would be fine. The witches are in another realm. They exist in another reality, a heightened reality. So for them to rap to Macbeth makes a lot more sense than, say, Duncan or Lady Macbeth suddenly rapping at Macbeth. And I have seen things like that in the past. So yes, that's my theory with Shakespeare and rap. Not that it can't be done, but that it's usually not done properly. Let me know down below if you've seen any really egregious or good uses of Shakespeare and rap. I'd love to check them out. Cheers, everybody. Bye.